recording this session, which will get posted to our YouTube channel over the next few days. So hand over to Scott. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. As Paul says, could you please put yourself on mute so that we don't get interference during the night? And that includes you, Phil Norton. There you go. So tonight, thank you very much, Paul and Mitchell and the CGars crew for letting us take over the room. And tonight we're going to do something a little bit different because we don't have a cigar maker as our guest, but instead we are going to introduce you to 3 different ambassadors. So tonight we're going to focus entirely on the land of water and fire, which is Nicaragua, as we continue the celebrations that we've started in the last couple of weeks for the Nicaraguan 200, which is the 200th independence anniversary. We'll hear more about that, and it's a very special milestone for Nicaragua and Central Americans. So, as I say, we're joined tonight not just by one ambassador, but 3. So tonight we have Her Excellency Giselle Morales Echeverri, who's the ambassador of Nicaragua to the UK, who will kick off and introduce the evening to you all in a minute. We have Ricardo Carioni, who's the deputy head of mission for the Embassy of Nicaragua in the UK. And then the 3rd ambassador is a guy you may be all familiar with, Mateo Ortiz Lima, who's the UK brand ambassador of Flor de Caña. So very much a Nicaraguan evening. As I say, a little bit of housekeeping. If you can put yourself on mute, please. If you want to go to speaker view and be scared by, seeing people like me on a big screen, please do so. If not, sit in the gallery. Please put your questions into the chat room. We'll pick them up as we go along. Let's make it as interactive as you guys want it to be. Those of you that are brave enough to sit outside, I really admire you, because it's like the middle of winter here down in Devon. And I know it's an old pun. When I moved down to Devon, they told me a little poem that Devon is heaven, but it rains 6 days out of 7. And it's true. At the moment, it's raining 7 days out of 7. So what I'd like to do without further ado, please, is introduce you to Her Excellency Giselle Morales Echeverri to say a few words, please. Ambassador, where are you? Good evening.
Good evening, all. Thank you, Scott. I am truly delighted to be here with you and all who join us today, albeit virtually. And I wish to express my gratitude to Mr. Michel Orchant and his team at Cigars and Dominic London, you, Scott, and your team at Tor Imports, to Mateo Ortiz from Flor de Caña, and to my deputy, Ricardo, for the opportunity to share a few words and provide my support to this event this evening. Indeed, we are in the route on 15th of September. We will marking the 200th anniversary, and we are delighted to have 200 years of independence, of freedom, and to become the republic we are. Above all, I am very happy to see the growth that the Nicaraguan cigar industry has experienced in the UK. I have been direct witness of that in my diplomatic post for the past decade. And this is in great part due to the extraordinary hard work and dedication of the leaders of the UK cigar industry, such as Mr. Orchant, who was one of the pioneers in the UK to fully embrace and unequivocally support cigars from my country, and as such, an ambassador Nicaraguan cigars that help us protect and grow this artisanal craft product, which make us Nicaragua so proud. Thank you, Mr. Orchard, for everything that you have done and continue to do every day for all the many thousands of women and men cigar artisans and their families who make up our cigar communities. Furthermore, credit to whom credit is due, and it is to Scott Vines and his team at Tor Imports, who I personally and the Nicaraguan tobacco communities are tremendously indebted to, for his unparalleled efforts to open the UK market to our cigars and bring to the UK some of the best premium cigars in the world, many of them from Nicaragua. For his love and dedication to our cigar artisans and support to our cigar makers and all involved in the cigar supply chain. I wish to highlight the importance of cigars and the UK cigar market for the Nicaraguan industry, because all you bear great responsibility and play a fundamental role in the level of success of Nicaragua cigar brands, as well as our rum, but especially for the Nicaragua cigar industry, which keeps raising the bar and leading the way on quality, scale, creativity, while humble respecting our artisanal cigar making tradition and heritage, an industry with tremendous economic impact in my country. It is my sincere hope that you enjoy the sensational cigars and rum that you will be tasting today, which for me are the two most beautiful expressions of Nicaragua tradition, of the knowledge, craft, and love of our farmers, of the creativity of our master blenders, of the vision, quality, and excellency of our producers, of the resilience of the tradesmen and women, products which are the source of pride for all of us, as they also embody the artisanal heritage passed down from generation to generation, and the richness of our fertile volcanic soils, fresh, natural purity, conveying the tropical flavors of our Nicaragua. When you taste our cigars, when you taste our rum, you are tasting Nicaragua. You are sampling Nicaragua. To conclude, I wish that CGars, providing even more Nicaraguan cigars to their discerning clientele in the UK. Mr. Orchard, I am happy to support you in any way that I can. Thank you to all, and I wish to present my apologies because I have another meeting later, so I will be leaving in probably 15 minutes. I will not be until the end, so my apologies in advance. Thank you to all.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Ambassador. It's lovely to see you, and it's great to see you supporting our industry in the UK. And we really, really thank you for all the help you do with us with legislation and other things. So thank you for giving up your time to join us. And what we'll swiftly do, because I think there's people in the chat room wanting to know which cigar to smoke. So what I'll do is, Ricardo, the Deputy Ambassador of Nicaragua, where are you, sir?
Mr. Vines, I'm here.
Good evening.
From you.
So,
there's a couple of virtual meters or centimeters from you. How are you, sir?
I'm very well indeed. Thank you so much. So, Ricardo, you have chosen 2 cigars tonight, and without giving the name away, like the ambassador and having 3 ambassadors, I guess you're going to explain why you chose these 2 wonderful cigars, and which one you would recommend we start with, please.
Absolutely. I will definitely do that. But if I may, just very briefly, Scott, just want to take a moment to express my gratitude to Madame Ambassador for joining us today, and for expressing her support. I know better than anyone how busy her agenda is, so I know taking the time to be here with us is something very special. And I do have to echo her sentiment and words to express my deepest gratitude to Mitchell for his vision, for his passion, and for everything he does to support the Nicaraguan and the New World cigar industry. As she said, he was one of the first ones, and in fact, he was one of the first set of hands that I remember shaking when you introduced me into the cigar community in the UK, and it was a very, very warm welcome from here and everyone in the cigar family. And as such, I've always been tremendously impressed by his vision, strategy, his actions, but his team are incredibly special. And in fact, I had the honor of being on several of events with you, Scott, in some of these stores. Actually, most of these stores, from the puffing rooms in Liverpool all the way down to beautiful Chester. So in many ways, Mitchell and you bear great responsibility, and you're guilty for my ever-growing love and passion for cigars. So again, I'm sincerely grateful to everyone who joined us today. I look around the screen and I see many, many familiar faces, many sisters and brothers of belief that perhaps have been used to now me getting into these events as another attendee and getting my comments in, some shorter than others, and my questions. And somehow we develop this very special relationship. But I am over the moon that Mitchell and the team and you, Scott, have been extraordinarily generous in giving me an opportunity to share my views and thoughts about my country, the importance of our cigar industry, and I will do my best to convey my love and passion for cigars. And as always, I'll promise to be candid and transparent. I welcome all who join us to please share your thoughts, ask questions, any questions. I may not have all the answers. I promise that I will answer with honesty and to the best of my knowledge. I know, Scott, you prepare some questions to keep the nice flow as we move on, and I will start with shortly introducing the cigars. And the first one they already lit up. But I dearly wish that this becomes an interactive session. That is a small, lovely, cozy virtual room group. So let's try to engage as much as we can. And again, big gracias to someone who has been with me in many of the Cigars events. I mean, C.Gars, as in the company, across the UK. And that's our other guest today. In my view, probably the most Chilean Nicaraguan in all of Europe, for sure. The ambassador of Flor de Caña, with whom I vividly recall our events at the beautiful Tormos and in Chester. And what wonderful memories we built together, Mateo, Mitchell, and his team, Scott, and all the phenomenal folks at Cigars and at Torre Imports. So indeed, today, as we were thinking, what cigars can embody Nicaragua? And the first one I lit up, and I suggest we can start that way, but then again, that's the beauty of cigars. You do what you like and the way you like it. So the first one is the Numero Uno, Joya de Nicaragua, the first cigar factory of our country, founded in 1968. It's a very special cigar. It's a cigar that anyone who's ever seen my little Nicaraguan humidors in my home know that I'm never, ever running out since I discovered them in 2018. But we have to go back a little bit back in time. Actually, this blend, and this is l'Ambassadeur. It's a Lonsdale cigar, Vitola. But you have to go back in time. And in fact, this blend used to be the blend that the Foreign Service of my country used to hand out to dignitaries, civil servants, and ambassadors themselves used to bring around the world. And it was in 2018 that Juan Martinez and Don Alejandro Martinez Cuenca decided to give it a try and share with media and special audiences. And they got their highest rating in 50 years. So now they're part of their obras maestras, the masterpieces, and they're part of their ultra premium family of cigar. To my taste, this is incredibly creamy, tremendously refined, sort of medium body, complex, elegant. I suppose for a UK palate will be sort of a medium. To me, it's a little bit on the mild side. And we have a beautiful Ecuadorian wrapper on top of the Nicaraguan binder of filler. And I think what to me makes it really special is when I hold it in my hand, I love the shape. I love Lonsdales, I love Lanceros. And I think the world has agreed in many ways. I mean, in 2020, they were actually chosen as the number 6 cigar of the year by Cigar Aficionado. And back in 2018, they were the number 1 cigar in the Half Wheel Top 25 and the cigar of the year for Cigar Dojo 2019. So I've started already. I lit it up. I'm a slow smoker, so I started a little bit earlier. Hopefully we get a chance to then, when I introduce the second cigar, which also is a cigar that I incredibly love. In fact, these cigars are probably one of the 2 cigars responsible for sort of a reawakening my love for cigars, and that's Oliva cigars. And this is the Serie, which is quite a beautiful cigar. But Scott, if you agree, maybe I can talk a little bit more about the Oliva as we move down the when we get down the call, or you want me to talk a little bit more about it now? Your choice, sir.
Well, maybe what we'll do, Ricardo, is if everybody's lighting up the numero uno just now, then we can talk about the Oliva cigar maybe later in the call. If people are going to smoke 2 cigars, but we can talk about it in a wee while and talk about the blend. It'd be quite good to bring Matteo in just now to introduce the rum. Matteo, you're not a Chilean Nicaraguan, you're a Chilean Scot Nicaraguan. So, Matteo, where are you, sir?
Easy, Scott. You're trying to steal it.
I know. Well, we've got a Scotsman, a Nicaraguan, and a Chilean. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've good evening to you all, and it's lovely to be here in this special evening, accompanied by people who have really changed the kind of like the view of kind of Nicaragua and represent the best products in the world, and we're able to share it with you this evening. So I'm super excited. I'm delighted to be here this evening. Wonderful world for the ambassadors, and also to be here representing Flor de Caña Rum, and being, of course, as Scott was saying, I'm Chilean, but I've been living in Edinburgh for the last 14 years. I do consider myself a bit of Scotsman, to be honest. But the last 3 years, when I took this role to be the brand ambassador for Flor de Caña in the UK, and the last 3 years I've been to Nicaragua, I became kind of like not big Nicaraguan fan, but I have it deeply here on my heart, because I feel the passion. I feel the love for the country, the lands of lakes and volcanoes, and I'll breathe and I'll live the brand and I'll live the country as well through it. So it's an absolute honor to be here tonight, and we'll share some of the stories of the rum, of course, and also a bit of rum culture and a bit of what Flor de Caña is and how we're changing the world of rum globally. So I'm quite excited to get into details, but it's been an honor to be here with you and to be in this evening with you guys.
Fantastic. It's great to see you, Matteo, and I look forward to seeing you in real life soon. So tonight we're drinking the 12-year-old?
Yes, indeed. So we're drinking a Flor de Caña 12-year-old tonight, which is of that type of rum that we can call like a full body sort of rum, 12 years on our ex-bourbon casks, naturally aged. It's kind of like, it's quite nice and smooth in the palate. Our rums have no sugar or additives, which is quite unique for the world of rum. And what would you expect from this rum if you sip it neat? Of course, we all have different palates. So if you mix it, it's okay. But if you have it in neat, you should feel like nice and smooth. It's quite rounded to your palate. You should get a bit of vanilla coming from the ex-bourbon cask, but from the aging process as well, a bit of like baked apples and pears. I would like to kind of like give an example that it sits on the middle between a Highland kind of whiskey and a cognac, but being rum is really, really elegant. And it's something that, while you're sipping it, it just gives you more flavors and more flavors. So it's something really unique. I hope you're all enjoying it. And I'm really can't wait to tell you way more about the liquid and the process of how we make this product.
Fantastic, Matthew. I'm cheating tonight because I'm going 25 tonight. That was yeah. Matteo knows the story. So, Ricardo, before we dive into cigars, could you tell us briefly just a little bit about Nicaragua in terms of geography, history, culture, just to give people a flavor? Because, people, I often get asked, where is Nicaragua, bizarrely. But they will all know, they will all know eventually. Everybody will know eventually.
We were all on that mission, and I think probably credit to most people here. You all probably will have a sense of it, but let's do that. I think that's not a question that I get almost every day as well. So you're not alone in that team. But if you were to play darts and you grab the whole map of the whole American continent, so take it from Alaska all the way to Tierra del Fuego, and you were to play darts and hit the bullseye right in the middle, that's Nicaragua. So it's right in the heart of the American continent, nestled between the two great oceans, to the Caribbean, the Atlantic on the east, the Pacific on the west. And it's above all, it's an outstanding geography, really, and very, very lush nature. We have more than, and we said it before, it's a land of lake and volcanoes. We have 23 volcanic structures in our country. Immense lakes, second largest lakes in the Americas after the Titicaca. Great rivers, the greatest and the longest rivers in Central America. Breathtaking canyons, idyllic beaches, beautiful islands, very special island called Ometepe, which I'm sure will come in the conversation at some point. But we also have beautiful colonial cities and the perfect picture villages. And this is due to thousands of years of settlement, conquests, federations, empires, republics, revolutions that have forged a warm, passionate, and really, really vibrant people. I would say it's sort of a colorful kaleidoscope of cultures that we're sort of united by this diversity that it is to be Nicaraguans. We have the English-speaking Caribbean coast and Native American languages, and then the Pacific Spanish language, and as well Native Americans. So we're home. This country is slightly larger than the size of England. It's only 6.5 million people only. It's home to the 7% of the world's biodiversity, the world's second largest rainforest after the Amazon, and 25% of our territory is being protected as natural reserves. So it's a beautiful territory to go and discover. A former Spanish colony, used to be a British protectorate on the Caribbean, thus the languages. But it's a very unique and special mix. It's that multi-ethnic, multilingual, multicultural melting pot. It's a vivacious blend of the Native Americans and the Spanish and the British and the Africans and all the other Europeans who've lived and learned how to live together in peace, and not so much peace as sometimes in history. But indeed, I mean, Nicaragua, and that's the beauty of it that I think brings it to what it means within Cigars. I mean, if you go back to my country, many people think that Cigars is only about Cuba, and Cuba's came up with it. And the fact is, before Columbus arrived and he came to one of the first visits in 1512 to Nicaragua, one of the first gifts that our caciques, our chieftains gave to him were tobacco. So Nicaraguans already had in our DNA since back then and thousands of years before that, tobacco smoking. You know, it was an instrument, a mechanism, an artifact to really communicate with the gods and go to war if you have to. But the beautiful thing I want to mention about Nicaragua is because we're that bridge. So when you think geographically, right, you have the two big Americas. Something that really shows, and I think till today, showcases in our personality and our way of seeing the world. So if you think, you have the big empire building societies, right? You have the Mayans and the Aztecs in the north, Mexico, all the way up to parts of Honduras. And in the south, you have the Incas and all these big empire buildings. And people ask me, hey, Ricardo, how come you guys don't have any pyramids? What's wrong with Nicaragua? And I said, well, the fact is, there is a reason why we don't have pyramids of that size. And the reason being is, Nicaraguans, we actually never really bought into the whole empire building society. You know, we escaped the pyramid builders. We wanted to be free. So that desire for freedom, in fact, it was very similar, the way we're set up to the Highlands in Scotland, with chieftains looking after their own people. So sort of like a proto-democratic system. And that's the case of Nicaragua. Till the Spaniards came in and they taught us how to do empire building. And to be fair, that they help a lot. But with our fertile fields and millenary traditions, we Nicaraguans grow, craft, and blend some of the world's finest artisanal products. Very proud of this, including the amazing acclaimed cigars and rum that we're having. And as we said before, it's been 200 years, indeed, since 1821 that we became an independent. Well, we got our independence from Spain. For a period of time, we got together with our neighbors. We were slightly, for a little bit of time, part of an empire in Mexico. But today, it's been 200 years of this freedom. That's why we're so excited and so happy. So in essence, Scott, that's a little bit of my little Nicaragua. There's a famous anthropologist that put it very, very sweet in Italian. She says, "Di gente dolce," the people, the sweet people. And those of you who go to Nicaragua, I think will see how we are a people very sweet, very warm, very welcoming, very passionate, and very serious about what we do. But I think you felt that sweetness. And it's not only because of our Maduro wrappers that we make in our cigars. It's just part of the sweetness in the people's hearts.
Well, for those that haven't been, it's the most amazing place to go to. And you should definitely get it on your bucket list, believe me. So Ricardo, cigars. We're here, it's a cigar night, so let's talk cigars. So what's the first cigar you smoked, and how did you first come across cigars?
Good question. I'm glad we started there. You know, cigars, before even smoking it, to me, and I was talking to someone one of these days, I think the earliest memory I have of something like of cigars and the smell of it, I probably have to go back to maybe 3-4 years old, and I remember a cigar box that my dad had, and I remember the smell, and there's something that stays in your brain to that very, very early age, and I love the boxes. So my love with cigars didn't start with the actual cigar in itself, but actually with the boxes and the smells. And since then, my wife thinks I'm a hoarder of boxes, because that's what I hoard. Lots of boxes. Every single cigar box I've ever bought, I have it somewhere kept in there. I just can't get enough. So now you all know what to give me. You have an old box as a gift, birthday gift, that does it for me. I'm not difficult. But more going back in time, the first time I actually tried a cigar, it was a funny situation. I must have been around probably 16 years old, something like that. We used to have a gentleman that used to work in our house. He was from Esteli. Jairo was his name, I remember. So like many people, even then, I must have been 16. So no, that must have been in the 97, 98, something like that. So one day he comes back home and he brings me this unbanded cigars. And I'm thinking, wow, I mean, I knew what cigars were by then, but never actually tried one. And I remember we went with my friends and probably 10 cigars that Jairo brought us, unbanded, probably shrinkage from Joya de Nicaragua. So sorry, Juan, if it stays on the record, we owe you to pay you for those cigars someday. And we went to a quinceañera. I remember quinceañera, for those who don't know, in Latin America, it's a very big thing. It's when a girl turns 15 years old. In the United States, they call it Sweet 16. I think in the UK, kind of also becoming more usual. So they were where myself and my friends didn't even know what we're doing, coming with cigars to a quinceañera, looking the coolest thing that we thought we were. I think I smoked it right. That's a good thing. I did read into, so it probably was a Joya de Nicaragua, unbanded. I didn't inhale. I just kept it in. Didn't enjoy it as much, but I felt really cool. So that would have been my first cigar experience, Scott.
Were you wearing your tie-dyed shirt and your bag and your long hair at the time?
No. So that was just before the long hair phase, just before my hippie phase. I was just in that transition. So no, I still, lots of gel or Vaseline, whatever we used to have back then. So like a greasy Sopranos, Italian wannabe looking style, more like a mafioso rather than a hippie, I guess, but only 16 years old. So I was probably 20 pounds less fat than I am right now.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. For the benefit of those people that don't know what I'm talking about, follow us on Instagram and you'll understand the point. So, importance of cigars to Nicaragua, economy and beyond, Ricardo. You know, it's still a young industry, just over 50 years old. So it's still a fledgling industry. But talk us through what it means to the country, the cigars mean to the country, and financially as anything else, please.
Thank you, Scott. Indeed, I mean, it's been a short 50 years, and within cigar years, perhaps it's not too long, but the impact that it's had and the way it's changed and continues changing our country is monumental. So I suppose we live fast and strong and with intensity. But if you look at it from an economical point of view, let's start with that first, and then there's another side to it. So it's like two dimensions to my answer to your question. So the first one, if you look at Nicaragua in terms of what we produce in our economy, we're probably roughly 55% manufacture, trade, services, and about 45% agribusiness. And that's reflected in our exports. Interesting enough, cigars are interesting because they kind of fall across both categories. There's an element of agribusiness, but then it gets to the point where it becomes a product, and it's one of the few products of this quality, together with the amazing Flor de Caña that I love, and I do have it with me. I have the 18 and the 12. That actually every single element of it is made in Nicaragua. Everything. So from the seed of the sugar cane, and from the tobacco and the first stick of sugar cane, all the way to each other. So if you look at the numbers, and this is where it becomes an important product, and it gives you a little bit of context on the impact that it has economically. In the whole free trade zone system, which is the biggest employer in terms of the different industries that are conglomerated between the free trade zone system, so like the free ports here in the UK, difference being is in Nicaragua, you don't have to be a port. A free trade zone could be anywhere, and it could be any industry, essentially. Tobacco and cigars, they fall into that category. So the cigar industry alone, of the 120,000 people that work in the whole free trade zone system, 40,000 of them at least work in the cigars only. So that's about a third of all of the jobs in the free trade zone system, which generates almost 60% of Nicaragua's total exports. So we're talking, this is a product that's about 4.2% of exports in our country. It's in the top 5 of our export products. And if you look at 2020, which is incredible, and we'll probably talk a little bit more in how the cigar industry has been performing in our country, but just to put it into context, again, this is in a country that's the second economically least developed country in the whole of the Western Hemisphere after Haiti. Exports of cigars accounted for $290 million in 2020. So Scott, is incredibly important in terms of economy, because if you calculate that of those 40,000 jobs, 40,000 people employed by the likes of Joya, Nicaragua, and Oliva, probably multiplied by 10, the people that depend on each one of them. So let's add an extra 0. So that's roughly 500,000 people that one way or another, in a country of only 6.5 million people, are depending on this industry. So that puts it, I think, into context the importance of the work of Mitchell and his team, and the love of people in the UK for our cigars. Now, there's another element, as I said, so it's not all about economics. And the other one to me is one that personally really I connect with. Cigars in many ways were part of a stage of the development of my country, the history of my country, that has left a legacy. To me, it's almost like a paradigm shift that happened in my country. So I left my country in 99. My generation, having come, I grew up in the middle of a civil war in the 80s. And during my generation that came into the 2000s, we really were disenfranchised in many ways. The career I wanted to study wasn't there, an opportunity for me to study in my own country. We really didn't have the sense of pride. And I say this almost ashamed, but I don't think we, as a whole, my generation, had the level of pride that today we have for my country as we did back in the 90s and early 2000s. And the product that in many ways has been part of that journey till today, because I have conversations with all sorts of people in my role. And one of the first things that people say, wow, Nicaraguan cigars, that's the best of the best. Some people say Cuban, some people say others, but generally speaking, we be able to have a product that shows and embodies our ability to be really good and really unique in the way we produce. And as I've told you, Scott, I'm not only saying that because you're Scottish, or to Matteo, because he's half Scottish, but as an ambassador product, talking about ambassadors, perhaps a fourth ambassador, and there's 5 probably, is that Nicaragua is what Scotch whiskey is to Scotland. It's a beautiful expression, heritage, tradition. It's something that is non-tangible, but it fills us with pride and passion. And you experience that every time you go to Nicaragua, particularly those around Estelí, Jalapa, and Condega. Their pride for cigars just bursts out of their bodies. So I think that's the second element that is unquantifiable, because it does allow them to look into the world. Small country, not many people, economically poor, but look what we can do and look how what impact can we have in the world. So Scott, that's how important it is for us. It's been a life-changing and historic product for my country.
Take myself off mute. So why do you think Nicaragua has become so successful and become the cigar production epicenter for the world? The most, I mean, Esteli is now the cigar capital in terms of volume of cigars for the whole planet, which is amazing. So why do you think that's the case?
Indeed. So I think there's to me at least four major reasons to come to the stage where we are. Like you correctly said, look, if you take just the US as an example, which probably consumes about 80% of New World cigars, of Nicaraguan cigar exports, 80% coincidentally go to the US. So, and 1 out of every 2 cigars, premium cigars smoked in the US, they come from my country, which is incredible. We make 2.5 times more than all of Cuba, just Nicaragua. And if you put it into context, I was looking at some data just to bring to the point of why they're so good, right? But it's good to put the context, how good we are. And we're good, not just because I think so. I think New World cigars in general are fantastic, but we sell the most, we produce the most, and we get the most awards. I think if you were to use any kind of metrics to sort of measure the success and the quality of a product, these are not definite. And you always have a personal subjective element of your own palate. And that's always going to be the winner. That's going to be your personal metric, right? But when you look at it from a contextual point of view, back in 2000, Nicaragua used to export 19.2 million sticks to the US. 2010, we raised that to 86.1 million cigars. 2020, 186.2 million sticks to the US. You compare that to the Dominican Republic, we have 186.2. Dominican Republic did 102 million cigars. Honduras, 71.2 million. So that puts into context. And then just to a few highlights of all the awards, say, if you look at Cigar Aficionado as a whole, right? And you can tell, look, at least you get a sense of the quality. Of the Nicaragua's won 8 #1 cigars, Dominican Republic 5, Cuba 3, Honduras 1. And then if we put it into the boom, the cigar boom that we're living, but also the Nicaraguan cigar boom and the moment that we're living, out of the 10 of the top 25 #1 cigars, Cigar Aficionado were from Nicaragua. 4 of the top 10 were from Nicaragua also. And in fact, the consensus by Cigar Wheel, 18 of the top 25 were Nicaraguan, including Country of the Year, Factory of the Year, Company of the Year. I mean, I could just keep on going about this, and I think I will get people a bit annoyed by me showing off the pride that I have for this. But let's go to the reasons, and I think there's 4 primary reasons why this has been the case. The first one, it has to do with environmental conditions. We have the sun, we have the water, we have the soil, that rich volcanic and different terroirs between the country that provides the bed where it can grow and be born. The beautiful seeds, the second one, primarily seeds that were brought by Cubans, and we owe that. In fact, I have a Cuban sister. I love Cuba, and I have to say that we owe to Cuba. Nicaragua premium cigar industry is indebted forever to Cuba, and our Cubans running some of the best companies in our country. So the seeds that were brought to Nicaragua in the early mid-60s up until today have been one of the key elements. Nicaragua now, because of where the New World cigars, as you all know, are made, we can be more creative in creating new hybrids and trying different things and looking how these primings work for some of the binders and how those will work for wrappers. So we have a little bit of a more fun playground for those genius growers that we have in our country, the likes of Juan Martinez and his group and his father, obviously, and Oliva. Now, the third reason, which I think is perhaps one of the most important ones here, is the people. And in 2 dimensions. I think on one end, the tradition, the know-how, again, many thanks to the Cubans who we drank from their well of knowledge. but then also the artistry of Nicaraguans. Those 300 pairs of hands that have to go into the making on each one of these jewels, of these masterpieces. Nicaraguans are very good with their hands. And this is something because we're very artistic, not me. So in that sense, I pick none of it. But the majority of my people working in cigars, they have an ability and they look at the hammocks that they make, look at the art crafts that they make. And in fact, Nicaragua has the strongest manufacturing free trade zone system in the whole Central American region because a lot of the work has to do with their hands. And this is not just about cigars. It's from safety belts. Nicaragua is the highest quality safety belt maker in the world, even more than Japan and Germany, believe it or not. So Nicaraguans can be really, really good at doing things with their hands. And then one really unique, and it was interesting yesterday, I was on a call and we're sort of discussing Cuba and versus New World cigars and the elements that make each producing countries unique and special. The reason why, you could have all the previous reasons I said, but there is one, personally, a reason that has given us the edge over other cigar makers, cigar making countries. And I think it has to do with the competition. So the whole regulatory framework that we have in my country, where we have a free market, the best companies in the world competing against each other for the best tobacco, for the best employees, for the clients, and create this amount of quality. One is trying to outdo the other. When you have the best of the best, it's kind of Silicon Valley, and you have Google trying to outdo Apple. Well, that's the case of Nicaragua. One is always trying to outdo the other. And in addition to this, I think the regulatory framework, the government in itself, and the ability to provide tax incentives and support to that industry has been essential. So all these four key blocks, you put them together, you wrap them up, make a nice bind around it, and then wrap them, and there you go. That's to me, in my view, the reason why we're such a good moment that has where we are right now.
That's fantastic, and I think competition is such a key word because we've seen the last 5-10 years the growth of cigar brands, maybe not producers, but certainly brands appearing in Nicaragua and also in the Dominican Republic as well. But although everybody's very friendly on the outside, it's competition at the end of the day. Yeah. And the client at the end of the day makes that decision. If they can't draw on a cigar, or it's plucked or canoed or whatever, they may not buy it again.
And I'm not surprised if you look at the amazing Orchan selection of cigars, good number of them are made in my country. So I'm sure Mr. Orchan has a good reason for choosing the quality and the competitiveness of the people of our factories, Oliva being one of them. And in fact, one of my favorite cigars is the Oliva Orchan selection. But yeah, there's plenty of reasons. Good point, Scott. Thank you.
Okay. So what we'll do, Ricardo, I'll give you a little break and bring in Matteo up in Edinburgh. And we'll have a little chat about your rum, Matteo, please.
I'll smoke my cigar and enjoy my
You can sit back and smoke your cigar and have a little bit of rum. So Matteo, obviously you're a Chilean Scot Nicaraguan. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself, the history and the rum culture, please, in the UK or in general?
Yeah, of course. So as you said, I'm Chilean, born and bred in Chile, and then I moved to the States, to New York to study to high school, and went back to Chile and started to be an English teacher. And I had so much kind of UK culture and literature and film that I decided to kind of change my life, and I got out my backpack and I moved to London when I was 19 years old, I think. And I moved there just to discover the world. And unfortunately, I never went back teaching because I started working in bars as a part-time and also working in Sky News. Somehow I got a part-time in Sky News, helping from building the stage to delivering the newspapers, whatever could get me through to send the money back to my mom, to be honest, as she lent me the money. And I joined hospitality. So I started working part-time in a bar, and then suddenly, after a year, I met a couple of Australians that they moved to Inverary. For people who don't know, Inverary is like a really, really small place on the west coast of Scotland. And they told me, do you want to move here? Do you want to change, the basic London life? And I was like, yeah, why not? Because it was still quite hard. I was young, being abroad, first time, working as well. I used to do night shifts, six nights pretty much. So I didn't have much friends. And once I moved there after working in bars, I started working for a hotel family. I felt kind of like, in hospitality, you feel so welcome when you work in bars, because the majority of the time you're serving. If you want to go for a drink, people wanted to talk or share experiences. You kind of sort of giving happiness. And then when you start getting into the products deeply, be able to recommend and get behind the culture and the making all these wonderful spirits, from beers to wines to spirits. So I stayed there for 2 years, but while I was staying in Inverary, I started traveling Scotland on my days off, and I started studying quite a lot, reading a lot about spirits. Of course, I dived into the world of whiskey at the time. The bar had about 100 malts behind the bar, so I needed to study, I needed to learn. And I got a job in Edinburgh. When I moved to Edinburgh, I started bar managing bars, well-known bars, and that's when I got into cocktails. That's when everything changed, because I started doing cocktail competitions. So for me, making a cocktail and sharing what I like and my experience and transporting people into, I don't know what brand it was, but to their country, to their process, by putting flavors together and sharing this story and getting to travel the world to go and visit that distillery, or I don't know, drinking martinis on a private jet to a vodka distillery after winning a competition. It was kind of like an amazing life. And of course, I was young and really keen. So it was like this kind of high life that I loved, but I loved the time. I loved the way that as well. It was always really cultural, very welcoming, that you could be yourself, speak up, and you always bring in an experience. So I started doing really well doing cocktail competitions and travel a lot to a lot of distilleries and other brands. I've done a lot of work for other brands. But the traveling for me was always something unique, because, back home, I wasn't able to travel a lot because I couldn't afford it, or I wasn't able to taste amazing spirit because, of course, they were more expensive. So yeah, after, many years of doing cocktail competition and traveling and also managing a few bars here in Edinburgh, opening a few bars for well-known companies as well, I wanted to fulfill my dream, that it was becoming a brand ambassador. It was to fully focus on education. Never mind, I loved being behind the bar serving 12 hours, the bar 5 deep, Saturday nights, non-stop 6 days a week. But my passion has always been education. And I started changing, the roles. I started applying for different jobs. And one of the things that it was quite important that I never noticed before, it was having a driver's license. So that was a challenge. But overall, I got my driver's license. And actually, a week after, I seen this job, brand ambassador for Flor de Caña. I kind of knew the brand, but I didn't know it that well at the time. Everything that, of course, that we have now in Nicaragua, the country itself, and culture, and all these amazing things. And I applied for it, of course, and I went for it over here, in the UK. White and Mackay is our distributor. And yeah, I've managed to get the job. And from then on, my life completely changed, because, of course, I am Latin American. I'm really open. I'm really warm. I'm really talkative. I like to give a lot. If I see any of you across in any event or any bar across the UK, I'll be the first one buying you a rum. Have that for a fact. But it was a life-changing experience, because I had to adapt myself into the world that you're the face of the brand. You had to be constantly studying, making yourself better, and also be every time the best to represent not only a brand but a country as well. So that's one of the things that I've totally see, and I can tell you because I lived it personally on my first trip to Nicaragua, when I feel the hospitality, when I feel the passion, when for first time I see lava, When I first time see an active volcano, we've been last and we all really warm. I mean, over here, I think that we all across the world, no matter what we do, we people and we warm and we welcome. But the welcome that I got when I went to Nicaragua for my first time and seeing nature, seeing the lakes, seeing the volcanoes, it was just something unreal, something that I couldn't, if you've never been, I think that every time that we kind of do a masterclass or we share an event like this, we transport you there. We want you to feel the breeze. We want you to touch our water, like that volcanic climate. You can like feel it in your skin. And one of the things that I love that, tobacco plants, tobacco and sugar cane, they grow side by side. And of course, with the climate that we have and the terroir, as Ricardo was saying, mineral water by the volcanic ashes just being expelled by the years, and amazing, weather conditions, you have the perfect conditions to grow the healthiest or tobacco plant or the healthiest sugar cane. So this is something exceptional that I have feel or lived through, Nicaragua. And then also just to, on the world of rum, nowadays, rum, of course, is booming. People say that rum is the kind of new gin. But if we really analyze, like the story of rum, basically imagine just people hunting to try to eat, in the medieval times on these islands. And, you get a fruit maybe fall from the tree and, it has sugar in it. Yeast is on the air. You add a bit of water and that's you can go alcohol. So imagine people with no food for many days drinking this water out of this fruit or eating this fruit. It's like fiery water. So the history of rum is like rebellion, a loud noise. So it's always something that it has so much history, but to what type of rums we have nowadays and the techniques and, all the process that we're so privileged. I feel so privileged to be sharing with rum with you, but at the same time, the category as the rum has been growing and premiumizing across the world, but in the UK as well, is fantastic. So that's like, we feel really, really proud of what we have. It's something really cool. One of the things about rum as well, if you don't know, there's no many rules like in whiskey, it's like you can add things, coloring, caramel, distillers, sugar, essence. But one of the things from Flor de Caña that we don't have any of this, it's natural. So that's kind of the things that I really, really like. And some of the other things that the company does, of course, that they're very, very unique on this rum world. So yeah, it's amazing. It's such an amazing journey. And there's so much history behind that, when you're drinking and then you realize all of the things, you make it even tasty.
No, Matteo, you're the best brand ambassador I know in the UK. You're just a legend, and I love the passion that you display. I love the accent. I love the Scottishness, and we've got to do a bit more of that in you. I share your passion for Nicaragua. To go to like Masaya and look down the volcano and see the red bubbling lava. It's wow. I'm very fortunate to have done that. The second trip we did, the clouds came over and you couldn't see down, and the people were really disappointed because you're standing on the edge of a volcano, but all you can see is cloud. And I did a really naughty thing. Everybody got back on the wee minibus, and I ran back and pretended to take a picture and ran back on the bus. And as the bus moved away, I said, wow, look, the clouds cleared. And I showed them the picture I took the year before. I was pretty naughty, but
that's amazing. Masaya is such a magical place for me, because on the south of Chile, where my family lives, we got two volcanoes, but of course, they're not active, but you can't see any lava. For me, I was 30 at the time, of course. It was my first time, because when we were the last car going up. I don't know if the guys know the people that they let us through, but we were the last one up, really, really late night. So there weren't many people at all. It was just us, like 3 of us. And I walked right to the kind of, I walked right into it, and I just I just could see it glowing, and you can see the lava bubbling. For me, that was like, I don't know, such an eye-opening experience, and that's when I truly understood when they say, "Oh, Nicaragua, the lands of lakes and volcanoes," and I was like, "Great, yeah," and I understood the volcanoes are active, but I never seen like it's glowing. Like you go there and no matter there's no light, it continuously glow, and you can look down and you see the bubbles coming out. For me, that was unreal, and I'm not gonna lie. For more than closer that I wanted to get, of course, there's a fence. I couldn't stand there long because of the fumes. And I was like, no, I'm tough. I'm tough. And I stayed there for like 15 minutes, right? Trying to take pictures. But then I had to walk away because the fumes were like, they were quite intense. But for me, that was nature at its finest. And that's one of the things that I always remarks me. And whenever I go, I travel and I speak about it, I will always take it with me. And I say, if you're ever in Nicaragua, please go to Masaya Volcano because it's such an eye-opening experience.
Absolutely. And the other places to go is to Lake Nicaragua with 365 different islands on it. That is an experience. Anyway, rum in the UK. A growing industry, Matteo? How
yeah.
is it becoming?
Rum in the UK is growing majorly. It's these liquids, as we said, once right now, never mind that we have, well, I don't know yourself, I think out of us through this pandemic that it has, we had a bit of more time at home, or maybe to investigate things that we like, maybe even if you don't work in the industry of spirits or cigars, or now what you like and you wanted to know more about the product or the category or what you haven't. And there is been a different focus because gin is a boom. It's been a boom for the last couple of years. You see so many distillery opening and different flavors. But if we analyze the statistics, brown spirits from Scotch to rum, they have never dropped. Rum is that spirit that is always been there because it has so much culture and it's so much fun. Like I have never asked anybody if he liked rum or whenever they had drank rum that they didn't have fun, because the culture of rum is always so welcoming. There's a party, there's a gathering, like this tiki culture, making it with in rum punches or cocktails is always fun. There's always a barbecue, it's always a gathering, it's always food on the table or something. So it's really good. On the UK, rum is growing major popularity. If we look at the statistics like from CGA towards the top 10 cocktails, the most selling cocktails the last 10 years, mojito and daiquiri are right there. Two solid rum drinks. Number 10, you got zombie or you got a rum punch, that both of them involve rum as well. And, over here, and of course, across the UK, from more Scotland, London, I think the whole UK, we start seeing small rum distilleries, boutique companies making their own rum, finding technique to aging it, bringing cask from other places, mixing, distillation process from column still to pot still. And it's wonderful to see how the category is expanding, because you always bring something new. We seen as well rum different finish and sherry casks and other type of casks or wine casks as well, to continue development flavor profile, which is really good, and it just keeps innovating. So the UK market is huge. The potential for rum in the UK is major. We see a lot of the companies, of course, now we're talking about spice rum in the category of spice is insane. We don't have a spice yet, and this is one of the projects that I'm talking to the brand back home to see if we can bring, because they 40 million or more, the companies that they have a spice rum worth, which because the consumer is willing to explore, but at the same time, what was the first rum that you had is like a rum and coke, like rum is being associated straight to a mixer, of course, because some of the white rums, that you mix, they not old enough, they age for maybe 6 to 8 months, or I don't know. We quite blessed that our youngest, which is a 4-year-old Blanco, But the majority of the white rums, they use age for no long, so it's still got a lot of alcohol and esters in there. So the first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna mix it with juice, with Coca-Cola. But then you see nowadays that the consumer's palate is changing, and we're associating sometimes liqueurs or spirit with food. So pairing occasions, we're looking for something, we're looking to pay more for quality instead of quantity. So this is why, it's good, because the market is premiumizing, and, we're blessed to have some really good liquids that we can offer the consumer, and also, be right, elbow to elbow, as we can say, with the competitions that all the rum families that they've been here, for many years as well. But yeah, the potential in the UK for rum, just trust me on this one, and you'll see it is massive, and it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. We can see it growing day by day.
No, that's brilliant. Matteo, I nearly called you Ricardo there. I'm drinking too much here, 25-year-old. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to bring Ricardo in to talk about sustainability, and then I'll come over to you, Matteo, as well, because I always associate Flor de Caña with the sustainability program they have. So, Ricardo, one of the areas that Nicaragua really excels is sustainability. How does this manifest itself in cigars? And then I'll ask you the same question, Matteo, afterwards, so we can compare the two or see what the similarities are, please.
My pleasure, Scott. And just before I do it, if you allow me, though, I do have to say I love to hear you both talking about my country. You see, that's what I love. And just to put it into context, when you think of the Masaya volcano, which is also the only digital volcano in the world. So you can look it up and find Masaya volcano. You can find out that lava at any moment. People just land at the airport, and in less than 30 minutes, you can drive and bring your car to the mouth of a volcano. That doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. There are other lava volcanoes, but none of them with that easiness of access. So that's something that we used to give it for granted. Now that I've spent more than half of my life outside of my country, I realized how valuable it was, what I had. And just before that, I was looking at some of the comments as well that thank you that people have put in, and I appreciate that. I see Paul was talking about how much he loved the number one, and he talked about Nicaragua also being a land of poets, and that's true. Darío, in fact, the man who revolutionized the Spanish language was a Nicaraguan. There is Cervantes and El Quijote, and then there's Darío, a Nicaraguan that wrote azul, blue. So there is appreciate that comment as well. And as you say, Tobias, a nice orchant in a shooting ground. I need to join you to one of those. So whenever you're one of those, let me know if there's a spare space. I'll bring a lot of cigars to get my ticket in. So we'd love to give that a try. But sustainability is incredibly important. And as we were talking about the case of Flor de Caña, and I'm sure Matteo will speak more about that. But I think sustainability, I look at it from, there's sort of two sides to it. There is a social sustainability element, and there is the environmental sustainability side of it. And in conversations that I've had, particularly in my role in the past 5 years, looking after the trade as a trade commissioner of my country here, and you get to learn a lot more, right, of these elements and the way the growers are planting our tobacco. Nicaragua, for example, you're looking itself into the way we grow it and that sustainable element to it in terms of the environment. It's one of the first countries really at scale, perhaps the first one, of producing organic tobacco. If you look at the irrigation methods that all the cigar makers, the top ones, are using, helps be a sustainable usage of the water resources that Nicaragua has. And we're really, really blessed with plenty of sweet water, but it's something that we are very mindful of looking after. If you look at the whole reforestation campaigns, I mean, again, this is a country where 25% of our land is natural reserves. So the tobacco growers have to be really, really respectful into the practices that they have, into what other, how they rotate the plantations and the different crops in order not to run out of the nutrients, the magnesium, the potassium, and all those beautiful nutrients that make Nicaraguan cigars so special. So there is a great level of responsibility. And what I love about it is that
Well, I remember my first trip to Nicaragua, and we got to Managua Airport, and we got on the minibus. All the cases were put on the roof, which was pretty dangerous when we thought about it afterwards, with the heat on the roof of the bus with the stuff we had in our cases. But that's another story. And within 5 minutes of setting off, we had Flor de Caña and a can of tuna, ashtrays on the floor, and cigars. And that was my first 5 minutes in Nicaragua, which was a fantastic introduction, unbelievable. So, Matteo, can I ask you to talk about sustainability as well, please? Because obviously, in the cigar industry, it's becoming really, it's very important generally, but it's becoming really, really a big focus for a lot of cigar makers. But Flor de Caña, I'm familiar with what they're trying to do, but it'd be good if you could share with everyone what progress you're making on this, please.
Yeah, of course. You know, I wanted to address a few of the comments that I see in the chat regarding, you know, from Tobias is having, you know, top experts here with liquids and connoisseurs regarding the price of, you know, our rum, the quality of what we have for the price, actually something that is really fantastic if you compare it, you know, to Scotch or cognac, you know, for the 12-year-old or above, you know, the ultra premium range, which is fantastic to see the comments and also, you know, people that have opened a bottle and it doesn't last long, which is something that I think that it happened to all of us. You know, I can't express, you know, my commitment or my passion enough for what, you know, these products do for sustainability, what Flor de Caña does for sustainability, because, you know, this is one of our biggest things. This is something that, you know, in any seminar or sharing with people, connoisseurs, you know, yourself this evening, it's something that, you know, we not only changing lives, but we're giving back to nature, to the world, and we're pioneers of sustainability, you know. As Ricardo was saying, you know, on the social kind of like side of sustainability, you know, Flor de Caña, we go our own school, more than 600 people enrolled, you know what I mean, since 1913. We go our own hospital, our own company hospital from 1958, you know, over like 7,100, you know, like surgeries, people born in our own hospital, which is amazing, you know. So that's kind of one of the commitment with like the main sponsor to the American Nicaraguan Foundation. So provided, you know, water wells, food, scholarships to people across the country. And then when we move, you know, to the environment, to nature, because we take from nature, but we give back. This is one of the things, you know, that, you know, it gives me goosebumps because it's so nice, you know, since we got a campaign called Adopt a Tree, and we've been planting, you know, 50,000 trees like since 2005. We have, you know, it was our 130th anniversary last year, and we planted 130,000 trees. Now lately, and one of this is a really exciting partnership. We partnered with Plant a Tree, and, you know, we are aiming to plant 1 million trees by 2025. 1 tree planted, that's the company that we partnered, and we plan to plant 1 million trees by 2025. You know, our campaign is called Adopt a Tree. The last time that I was in Nicaragua, that it was last year, with the team with the UK, we took our UK on trade director and the brand manager. We planted like 30 trees only ourselves, and I tell you something, like, you know, I work out and I think, you know, I can handle, but after planting the 5th tree, my hands were like completely burst. We were sweating, like it was so hot, like I was about to pass out. But we planted 30 trees, which was something, you know, amazing, because years going back, you see that tree growing, because I have a picture of that plant, you know, something that we would love to bring to the UK. Over here, I think that it's easier to partner with the schools to plant a tree. Of course, you know, in other places in Latin America, you can go to your back garden and plant a tree, or you can be as crazy as me and just grab a tree and go and plant it, I don't know, in your local park or something, you know. But it's something so good, and it's something so passionate, you know, that it's just like seeing it, because it's for the next generations. On top of that, you know, sustainability with still 100% renewable energy. So imagine when you crush a sugarcane about 3 meters, you cut it above 30 centimeters of the ground level, because then that's kind of the sour part. So you want the hard, well, not the hard, but the middle of the sugarcane. So you crush it to extract the sugars, of course, the sugarcane juice that it can be for drinking, or to make sugarcane rums in other countries like Haiti or Brazil with the cachaça, with another type of spirit for your typical caipirinhas. Then what is left over, we cook it. You put it all together, and that's why you create the molasses. So the type of rum, you got sugar cane, or you got the molasses, which is like a syrupy paste. Imagine if you put a kind of soy sauce and add sugar into it. That kind of same sort of smell consistency, which it might not sound very appealing, but that's the body of how you made the rum. Of course, we got leftovers, and what we do with that, we call it the bagazo, just like you say, biomass. We put it into an oven. The oven, create heat, create steam, and that's how the distillery runs. So 100% renewable energy. So imagine in terms of pollution, we could have like 1,000 cars running for a whole year. So that's kind of like, an extra step that we take, which is fantastic. On the fermentation process, of course, when you ferment to create alcohol, you create CO2. And the CO2 will naturally go to the air, but we capture that as well. We got, some pipes that will collect the CO2, take it to a tank, hold it. And what we do with that CO2, instead of going to the air, we sell it to soft drinks and beer companies in Nicaragua. So that's an extra step, that we take it towards sustainability that, is amazing. One of the things that I wanted to share with you as well, which is an amazing fact, is that, Flor de Caña is the first global spirit to be fair trade certified, and the only to have both certification, fair trade and carbon neutral, because we offset all emissions on the production process, which is something, unreal. So when people ask me why you love your brand, why it sets you apart in this competitive world of rum, is because, now for sustainability might be a hot topic. We've been doing it for years, at least for the last 15, 20 years. So that's something that we feel really, really proud to share these practices, but also to tell the world and other companies, and seeing other companies, all the spirit companies taking, a bit more responsibility for the production of what they're doing, and, seeing us as the pioneer of sustainability, which is something that it makes you really, really proud.
Well, I think when you come to do your Plant a Tree in the UK campaign, you need to help see how people like ourselves and people in the room can help you, because I'm actually sure that there's people that will sponsor some of the trees, Matteo.
Yeah.
So I think there's something we'd like to hear more about. And I noticed somebody, Gaz, in the room has said the same thing. So I think you'd get quite a lot of support in this country for.
Yeah, I have absolutely no doubt for that. For me, since day one that I started, is been a work in progress, a project, because of course over here there's so many rules and alliances that you need to do. The good thing that is something that I highlight here, just like the comments that they put on yourself, talking to all of the audience here listening, is when you talk about something like that, everyone feels good. Everyone's want to feel part of it, and everyone is willing to go that extra mile like we do, because, the world needs us and nature needs us, and we're taking quite a lot of nature and fast, overall, not us, So giving back is so important, and having these little things that they can, if we all collaborate, we'll definitely make the world a better place, and also for our kids or for the kids of our kids, which is what we want, we want to have them a sustainable future. So that's really, really important for us, and I'm absolutely delighted that you all feel that way as well.
That's fantastic, Matthew. It's a great story. I'm also conscious, I didn't realize, I just looked at my watch and didn't realize how quickly the night is moving on. So before I go back to Ricardo to ask him about the 200 celebration, Matteo, is this a big year for Flor de Caña celebration-wise? Obviously, the Nicaragua, Ricardo will talk about the Central American celebrations, but for your company, Flor de Caña, any special date and any plans to do something special this year that you can share?
You put me right on the spot here. Firstly, I wanted to say, when we talk about the volcano, our distillery is is 5 miles to one of the most active volcanoes as well in Nicaragua called San Cristobal, which just gave us the volcanic experience. I wanted to highlight that because from the distillery, you can see the volcano at the back. Is that active that not long ago, it kind of like, we had a bit of a cloud of ashes coming out through, which is just something fantastic. But, it's good that the wind blows the opposite direction as well, because we're lucky in that sense. It's been a great year for us. Like, for example, last year, since 2017, of course, I carried the message as an ambassador for the last 3 years. But, we got a 5-generation family. And last year, we turned 130 years history. 2017, International Wine Sparring Competition, London named us, global rum producer. Our rums have over 150 awards and so many gold medals, like the 25, for example, and the rest of the portfolio as well. So it's been, fantastic to see how the brand is growing on the UK, because, the UK overall, or we can talk about London, but overall is a door to the world, to all other markets, because, what we have here, or what we do here, is a mirror towards all other markets. With Flor de Caña right now, after many years, I feel so proud to say that, we're the second largest market in Europe, apart from Spain, of course, because they're way bigger, and Rome over there is kind of like on the people's blood, and like for us in Latin America as well. 130-year story, 5 generations. We celebrated that. We brought out the 5 generaciones, which is the 5 generations, with a special single cask. So it's a 30-year-old rum, from 1988. So that was one of our release that we did especially, and it was a big year for us last year. But it felt like last year it wasn't a full year, so we carried on that message this year, and we also brought a single cask 20-year, 130 years anniversary that is solidly stocked and sold by the Whiskey Exchange. So that's an amazing rum as well, and it was quite new, into the market. Apart from our portfolio, that of course is from 4-year-old to 25-year-old, to bring something like that into the market. We also brought to the UK Espresso, which is a rum coffee liqueur, natural with natural syrup, caffeine free. But we're working with coffee producer locally. The coffee industry at least, employs about 40,000 people, many families in Nicaragua, which is really important as much as the cigars, the rum, and the chocolate. We extract those essence of the coffee, we put it into our rum coffee liqueur, and we brought it to the UK. You can get that through Tesco, which is, again, amazing, delicious, but at the same time, we're showing how innovative we can be. I don't know if you're aware, after the Nicaraguan Revolution, when it finished, by 1980, we kind of done a stock count because we opened another warehouse in Honduras, sending, barrels there. We had the largest reserve of aged rum in the world by 1980. So that's what we're blessed to have this expression in front of us, with the year stays on the bottles. So we do have all the stock. We're just holding it to release when the time is right. We have a special release coming up in August that so far I'm not allowed to say, but it's for you to be excited, and of course follow all our social medias, and for sure we're going to be able to share that liquor with you in another amazing event. But yeah, constantly innovating, constantly bringing products into the world that with a lot of kind of care and tailoring all these expressions. The eco, this one is called the eco. So the 100% eco packaging, our bottles are recycled, our labels are recycled, our corks are recycled as well. So 100% recycled rum called the eco. I'm not going to tell you the year yet because I would like to have you that surprise, but we're going to release it in August. So then again, fantastic couple of years, another amazing year this year. So, keep on the loop, and please keep enjoying our rum. And also, if you have any specific question, don't feel free to put it on the chat, or get us contacts direct, because you caught me here and I bleed rum, so I'm able to share all the insights and some of the more technical information with you all.
That's fantastic, Mato, and I apologize for putting you on the spot. I don't really. I just wanted to say no, that's brilliant. It's really fantastic what you guys are doing, and I love the rum.
Thank you.
The only piece of advice I give to people is don't start at 25 and work your way down. Work up, okay? I tried that in Nicaragua because we ran out of rum and we had to go and buy some, and it was interesting. It doesn't
Absolutely.
work. It only works up the ladder, not down the ladder.
That's a quick advice to everyone. Just try whenever you're drinking different rums. So if you got some of our rums, generally on the rums, try to go for the youngest to the oldest. So you're able to differentiate the kind of different flavors, because if you go oldest, of course, it's going to be heavier, richer, more complex flavors, and some of them will coat your palate. So then when you're trying to find the floral, more fruity notes for a younger rum, it might be quite hard to tell. So it's good. Also, if you want to, ever test proof that we have zero sugar additives, make sure that, you put a little drop of our rum in the palm of your hands, and then rub them in, and you will realize, that nice molasses, that Latin American spirits come through the nose, but at the same time, your hands will be nice and soft, and there will be any sugar or any stickiness or any substance, and that's how you realize our rum is 100% naturally aged with no sugar or no additives.
Absolutely, and it works fantastically as a moisturizer.
Depending on how expensive
I'm actually 82, but I use Flor de Caña on my face. So Ricardo, if I can come back to you to kind of close off tonight's session. This is Nicaragua's 200th anniversary, independent anniversary from Spain. It's an important milestone. I know you touched on it at the beginning, but could you just give us a bit more detail about a speed kind of history and what kind of celebrations are going to happen in Nicaragua this year, but also in the UK? So how's that going to be celebrated in Nicaragua and in Central America in general, please?
My pleasure, Scott. And just going back briefly to some of the comments, I have to say, it's good for your face, the rum. So people ask me, so Ricardo, you're 40 years old almost, you don't look like, and I have to say, that's probably the good rum in my blood as well. I think it keeps us nice and vibrant. So rum is good with moderation, of course. I do have to go back briefly to some of the comments that people have been generously sharing, and please don't be shy. If there's any comments or questions, to bring them on. Don't let Scott monopolize it. I don't like monopolies in general, except Monopoly the game. But I thank you, Pam, for correcting me. I was calling you Paul. It's your fault. You can change your name on the thing. But thank you, Pam, for your good comments, and I appreciate that from you. But it's incredible. One quick thing I wanted to add as well in terms of the sustainability. We're talking about all the rum being made with renewable energy. But then if you look at the Nicaraguan energy matrix, and that 80% of the energy that comes from renewable sources is not only for the factories, that energy that's being used. In fact, third or sometimes the fourth biggest source of renewable energy in my country comes from the rum and the sugar cane that comes from it. So you drink rum, you're doing good to the environment, you're doing good to yourself, doing good to the people, but the same with our cigars. But in this God 200, it's for us within our smaller, say, modern history. We do have a history that's millenary before the Spaniards came in, but that's not written, so it's a bit more tricky to talk about those milestones that we had previous to that. But within the British history, 200 sounds like nothing, but to us it's a big deal. It's a very special milestone, as you said. And what I love about it is when you put it into historic context briefly. As I mentioned briefly before, in 1821, when we became independent from Spain, we became the Confederation of Central American Nations. There were 5 of us. And if you look at the little coat of arms in our flags, like in the pin that I have here, but in the flag, there's 5 volcanoes in our coat of arms. And each one of those are those 5 original countries coming from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. So these 5 countries coming together back then to join. 200 years went by or less. And today, Central America, we have the Central American Integration System as an entity that has come up with, and our country signed up to it. So it's sort of a European Union of Central America. And the way we approach our milestones, recent ones, and the ones coming to the future, there's an element of integration between our nations, and Nicaragua is unapologetically integrationist. We believe that Central America, it is stronger together. Of course, we do have red lines that we don't cross, in terms of the judicial system and things that we do not completely leave for someone to decide in Guatemala or Honduras and El Salvador, where in Salvador actually is where the parliament is based for the Central American integration system. So there's a lot of plans into together as a Central American, and then each country itself throwing the house off the window in terms of celebrating. Of course, this is it's a challenging year. We're just coming out of and still suffering the whole COVID pandemic. Fortunately, in the case of Nicaragua, we have the lowest numbers in the whole region and the highest recovery rate. So we're expecting a good number of celebrations. People are feeling more comfortable. Already 15% of our people have been vaccinated. So we're expecting a good number. Coming September the 15th, which is the actual date of independence, we expect a good number of coming together celebrations from Esteli, where the cigars come from, to Matagalpa, where the great coffee, or Nueva Guinea, where the beautiful cocoa grows, the beautiful coffee, chocolate that comes from, or Chinandega, where that beautiful sugarcane grows, and where the volcano of San Cristobal is based in Chichigalpa, where the distillery is and where the rum comes in. There will be pockets of celebrations, and Nicaraguans know how to party. Like you said it yourself, you come in and they're already pouring in Flor de Caña down your throat, which you voluntarily love, and we all do. But here in the UK, what we want to do, so on one end, in terms of, again, every year, Central American nations come together in London to celebrate independence. This year is no different. We are expecting a number of events. In fact, one of the biggest ones is going to be together with our good Spanish ex-empire, who we became independent with, because a beautiful relationship has developed with Spain and with the UK in that sense. But with Spain, the way I say it, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. I wouldn't be here in that sense. So it's a love with a tragic history in many ways, but there's love in the middle. So we'll be joining forces at the embassies on September the 14th, for example, to celebrate together with the Spanish Chamber of Commerce. Now, from a more to the audience here, what we're hoping to do during the whole of September and throughout the year afterwards is to sort of build small Nicaraguan islands in the UK. And when I mean the islands are the little, the retailers, the cigar stores. So we want to be able, and I've committed my time to that, and I know the ambassador said so as well to you, Scott, and I can say that to you as well, Mitchell, if you're still around there, and that we want to help bring the color, the flavors, and really, really, dress your beautiful stores as a beautiful Nicaraguan woman will dress in these days, with all the colors and the flowers and the textiles and the smells. I would love to go back to Chester, which is a city that's incredible, and celebrate it there. Would love to go back to the Puffin Room and celebrate it there. And even more, would like to just walk from where I am and go to St. James and celebrate it with you all there. So we want to come together as a diplomatic mission, but also as cigar industry supporters and lovers, to bring that through our cigars, through our rum, through our chocolates, through our coffee, and these amazing products and gastronomy that makes us unique. So we'll be very much on the cultural spectrum of celebrations, but we feel that as a small state diplomacy calls for cultural diplomacy, and that's the best way to introduce the British audience and the British people more and more to the beauties of my country, to incentivize them to come and visit and to see what 200 years have done to Nicaragua. And I think one very special thing about my country, and I say this with true, complete frankness, as someone who loves traveling. So as I mentioned before, I left in '99 and haven't gone back to live since then, but I travel and live in various countries. Something that's really special about that part of the world, I think it has to do with the revolution and the 200 years of independence. People have maintained a uniqueness and a reality to who they are. So as travelers come in to celebrate with us, generally speaking, Nicaraguans don't look at tourists as cash machines walking around. There is not that element of this, wanting to get from tourism. It's more of a wanting to offer to tourism. And the lady that used to make the tortillas and the bread back before I left, I go back every year when I can, and they're still making the tortillas, they're still making the bread, but they don't do it as a show. They're not trying to show tourists how to dance folklore. They're doing it because that's what they do. And they're cooking because that's what they do for a living. So that raw, so there's an element of rawness in Nicaragua when you go there that I think as the travelers, particularly British travelers who are very pampered with options, I think it becomes really, really hard nowadays to try to find places around the world where you can actually travel and immerse yourself with the culture without having to go to a villa or a small island in Indonesia or whatever. In the case of Nicaragua, it's really accessible. It's really there. So I think these 200 years will help us scream to the world, hey, we're proud, we're free, we're sovereign, we're unique, we're welcoming, we're warm, and we're stretching our hands out. We are sweet people. We are peace lovers. We know what war was just in the 80s. And I think that's something to keep in mind as well. Having come from the power of an empire, we value to every inch of our bodies and every ounce of our souls, if you could measure it, the value of peace and love and respect of others. And that's what we will hope that celebrate that way. And I hope here in the UK, retailers can join us. And those who we haven't spoken to, do reach out to Scott, do reach out to me. I would love to have a Nicaraguan fiesta everywhere we can all around the UK. So I'm putting you in trouble, Scott, but we'll make it happen. Parties can be humbly happy and not too fancy, and have a great time doing so.
Well, we have big plans for September, Ricardo, and just so everybody's aware, there is a commemorative cigar going to be available in September called the 200. CGars have already pre-ordered, so I guess closer to the time it'll appear on the website once we know exactly when the cigar will arrive in the UK. And I know that Joya de Nicaragua are planning to do like a global Zoom for everyone to smoke the 200 at the same time and celebrate the 200th anniversary at the same time. So that's fantastic.
Indeed,
but,
that's the most, they say, and I don't think it's just a motto, it's the most Nicaraguan of all cigars in that sense. And that love, that's one thing we share to every part of our bodies, is that love for our own country. And I'm sure Juan Martinez and everyone will do an amazing thing. So, but let's not forget Oliva. And I think that's one thing I want
No, I was about to say to you, the guys have probably all smoked. They're probably on this. They'll probably finished the Oliva as well. So before we wrap up, and I just asked Mitchell a couple of things, please. Could you just tell us about the Oliva Serie V Double Robusto and why you chose this cigar for tonight?
My pleasure, and apologies for being a slow smoker. I like to take my time and smoke really slow. Plus, I can only do one thing at a time, so I have a hard time walking and chewing gum, same smoking and talking. It's not easy for me.
Or your ears, perhaps?
or even that, when I move my ears, the whole world, well, I say I move my ears, maybe it's not, but the whole world stands still around me, at least in my mind. But thank you, Callie, and everyone for sharing my secrets, my embarrassing moments in the tea time tour videos that everyone can take a look and have a laugh if you have nothing better to do, and laugh a bit about myself. But I love Oliva. Look, Oliva, again, as I said before, it's a cigar that never run out of. It's a cigar that really got me serious into trying to understand cigar. And I think that's the beauty of it. And something that Mateo mentioned before, whilst he may not have continued his teaching career, you are educating, my friend. And I think that's the beauty of what everyone involved in your industry and in the cigar industry. It's a learning process. And that is the key to the sustainability of both industry, education, to people to understand where they come from and what is the value of them. And Oliva was one that brought me very, very passionately and trying to deep dive into it. And the Serie V Double Robusto, wonderful cigar. This is sort of the brother of the Serie V Melanio that won the cigar, #1 cigar of the year in 2014. But this is a history. This is a story, sorry, that began back in the late 1800s when Don Melanio Oliva, he started growing cigars back in Cuba, and making cigars out of this wonderful tobacco. In fact, my little sister, she was born in Pinar del Rio, so not far from Vuelta Abajo, where the pioneers of the premium cigar making history come from. I'm sure Mitchell will know a lot about that as well. So the Herfs carried on the family tradition into the fields, but it was a grandson, actually, Gilberto Oliva, who began making the cigars. So this Serie Doble Robusto is a complex blend. Nicaraguan long tobacco fillers is blended with especially fermented Jalapa Valley Ligero, and it's finished with the high priming of sun-grown wrapper, 5x54, I would say medium strength cigar, beautiful, beautiful shape, Ecuadorian wrapper, Nicaragua, and filler from Nicaragua, the binder and the filler. But to me, and I'm not smoking it now, but I've smoked plenty, and I have many at home. But if I have to try to express a little bit of how my palate reacts to it, it is a complex tobacco, and I pick up a lot of the coffee notes. There's dark chocolate notes into it, and there's a subtle balanced spice, almost sort of orangey type. Like an orange peel type acidity that comes into it as you go through the different stages. But it's definitely something that I hear people sometimes saying, well, Nicaraguan cigars, they don't have journey as much as others. And I have to say, I totally disagree, particularly with something like Oliva, that each third gives you a magical moment and a whole journey transitioning from the beginning all the way to the beautiful, from head to cap, this beautiful dark Robusto that is quintessential Nicaraguan cigar. And I hope that those who haven't yet lit it up can enjoy it afterwards with some of that rum. I know I will. Imagine if I try to smoke, talk, and drink, I'll completely just crash. And so I'm not even gonna attempt that. So I leave my beautiful new box. I love this, the 18-year-old and the 12-year-old rum. But hopefully you enjoyed Oliva and you fall in love as much as I do. I know Mitchell loves Oliva. And as I said before, his original selection, I think, does great justice for those of you who are working your way to the Nicaraguan cigar portfolio as a whole.
Ricardo, you can stop talking now. You are amazing. You are the best ambassador, not only for your country, but also for our industry. You can now have a big puff on your cigar. So,
thank you, sir. That from you, coming from you, means a lot to me. So I'm really, really humbled.
Puff on your cigar. Forget all the cigars. Forget the rum. The chocolate, I can only say, is the best chocolate I've ever tasted in my life. Now, as a real chocolate connoisseur, I am a very good judge of that, okay? That's all I'm saying.
I trust you. I trust you.
Trust me, I'm a chocoholic. Now, as you know, I'm a big fan of Oliva cigars, and I did the first co-brand with Oliva that they've ever done with my skinny, shorty, and chubby cigars. Now, that was a few years ago when I was chubby, then I went to shorty. Now I'm kind of skinny because I've been dieting for a couple of years, and I still love the cigars. That's all I can tell you. But I would also tell you, I'm also champion of Nicaragua and Nicaraguan cigars. And I have been very, very early on, many, many years ago, with La Invicta cigars from Hunters and Francow, when they introduced the Nicaraguan range and various other ranges. Oh my God, going back a long time, right back to the beginning. So we do the full range of Nicaraguan cigars, and we're big supporters, because I actually believe in the product, and I think the quality of the product speaks for itself. So we continue to be big supporters, and we had planned to do a massive celebration of the anniversary in our stores, so we could do proper events in our stores. But of course, the pandemic really beat us all, unfortunately. You know, I had the health issues and we had the lockdown issues. But don't think that this has beaten us, because we are coming back now, and we will be doing and we will be arranging a massive celebration of Nicaragua and the anniversary. We will be dressing our stores in Nicaraguan flags. We will be celebrating with Nicaraguan rum, chocolate, and cigars. And we will be speaking to Scott, and we will be arranging this in the very near future. And we hope to have you as our guest of honor. And hopefully we'll have the ambassador as well to make a little guest appearance, because we are big supporters of the industry in Nicaragua, and we love the cigars, we love the products. And I'm looking forward to visiting Nicaragua. I was supposed to go this year, but you know, events overtook me. So hopefully next year I'll be over there, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So what can I tell you? Thank you for everything you do for our industry. You know, we're very proud to have you as part of our little team promoting the industry, which you do like nobody else has ever done for any country that is producing cigars in the New World or Cuba. So thank you for that.
Well, Mitchell, you really, really flatter me, honestly, and it's just something that comes natural, and it comes natural to you as well. But I take it as a great compliment, and I love that. And indeed, perhaps you missed just the beginning of the call. You had the ambassador of Nicaragua saying how you were the pioneer of cigars from Nicaragua here. So definitely, we're mindful of what you've done. And as I said it as well at the very beginning, you were one of the first hands that were stretched out to me and welcomed me, made me feel at home here in the UK, in my role, in my capacity, and the love that you have for our cigars is incredible. And look, the trust that brands like Oliva, like Drew States, and many others have on your choosing you as being able to have your own selection, and everyone in the cigar industry would know how unique and almost impossible that is. The fact you're able to accomplish it, I think, speaks volumes again of your vision, of your love, and the amazing teams that you've been able to build. But we look forward to September, or as soon as we can. Scott, you have a lot there on your shoulders, but you won't be alone. I will be with you there as well, every step of the way. So we'll make sure that we celebrate and we give our consumers and those cigar lovers the love back that they deserve, and to you, give you what you deserve, which is not only a big gracias, a big thank you, but all of our love, admiration, and respect. And you have an ally for life in me and all Nicaraguans, Mitchell.
Thank you very much. But don't forget the chocolate. That's the most important thing for me.
I have loads. I've been keeping loads for you. Don't worry. I'll come with a big splash of chocolates with a big sign on it for Mitchell only.
Thank you. In that case, and fuerte abrazo for you.
Fuerte abrazo, señor. Gracias.
Well, I guess, ladies and gentlemen and ambassadors, we're coming to the end of our evening. I hope you've all enjoyed it. It's been fascinating. I think it's probably the first event we haven't had a cigar maker as such. But I think this has been a fascinating insight into the country, to hear the passion from the people that represent the country and the brands. It's just phenomenal. And it makes me feel lucky to be part of this chain. And hopefully the guys in Tor watching it and C.Gars watching it think, yep, we're all part of this chain too, guys. So listen, thank you very much indeed, Paul and Mitchell, for letting us take over your room tonight. Hopefully you've all enjoyed your evening, guys, that have come along and paid the hard cash. And I hope you've enjoyed the cigars and the rum. Matteo, you're a legend as always. Hopefully look forward to seeing you June-ish. And Ricardo, please pass on our thanks to the ambassador if you can. And to yourself, yep, I look forward to working with you in September on all these Nicaraguan events that we're going to be organizing. Looks like there's going to be an army of us out there pushing. So keep your eyes peeled, guys, on social media. Keep your eyes peeled on the C.Gars website. Things will be happening, and it's all really, really exciting.
And if I may very briefly say also a huge, huge thank you to everyone who joined in. I see, Pam, you're back on the camera. I'm looking forward to meeting you. As I told you, we want to get more women involved in the whole cigar industry in the UK. And a big, big thank you to everyone from Cali, from Tor, Jerry, Alan, and everyone in the C.Gars team. I know Paul. There may be others as well, but thank you for making this happen and giving us the privilege to come and share a bit of your time. I hope you weren't disappointed we didn't get a cigar maker, but look forward, and you have friends in here. Thank you so much.
Which is
Ricardo, thank you very much. All of us at Cigars look forward to working together in September and making a big event across all of our retail stores. Puffin Rooms will reopen in the start of June. So look forward to welcoming everybody up to Liverpool soon. We've got a very special guest next week, Carlito Fuente Jr. You can go to the website, look up our burst, and please join us. It'll be a really insightful event next week. Scott, once again, thank you for your time and effort. Much appreciated.
Thank you
very much, everyone. Happy smokes and happy drinks. Take care.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Good night.